Magical Mystery Tour, just waiting to take you away. As Dean Kirk resumes countdown of Fantasy Playlist, February 13, 2022. I love that old Beatles record. But this record, this Fantasy Playlist, got so many original sounding records on here. A lot of them, quite a few of them, scintillate. They like stars with originality. Such is the case with a song at number 16 on my Fantasy Playlist. Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever, at number 16. Is from her second album. I think I had this song either at number 3 or number 1 on a previous playlist. Let me go ahead and talk about how this song came about first. The song, oh boy, it's different from some of her other recordings, but I'll get into all that in just a minute. It's directed, the song is directed at an LA rapper, Brandon Adams. Billie Eilish was going out with him for about a year, but they got busted up towards the end. Obviously, the relationship was quite problematic. They broke up in June of 2019, but she came out of it feeling very angry and disillusioned. Just a few months later, she was on tour. Her brother was with her. They were in Denmark, a town in Denmark. They were jet lagged. They started on this record. They weren't ready per se to work on their second album. They were on tour. This is in the summer of 2019. But they started on the first song for the album, for the second album, which is Happier Than Ever. Her brother, by the way, he bought an $80 toy guitar. A small toy guitar that he brought into this record when they started on this song. But they wrote a few lines. They wrote a few lines, probably the first part of the record. Then about 8 or 9 months later, during the lockdown, it is the COVID era in full swing, the summer of 2020. And this is when they were working on their second album, her and her brother. Her brother's name, Phineas O'Connell, if I pronounced his first name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. And by the way, that tour they were on in the summer of 2019 was All Fall Asleep European tour. But then a year later, they're working on this second album, and they wrote the rest of the song, Happier Than Ever, the second part of the song. The video, the creative decision was based partly on Billie Eilish's phobia of water. She wanted to overcome her fear of water. And the video towards the end depicts her as escaping or trying to flee from a house that's filled with water. And parts of the video was shot underwater. And she faced her fear of water head on right there. Song did very well for her. It was played a lot on the pop stations too. Her style, ethereal, electro pop, bordering on dream pop, but not quite getting the dream pop. And this song, she starts off gentle, very gentle. She makes her case about her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend. She gets out her anger, her side of the story, and it builds. And it continues to build in the second half of the song when she raises her voice a notch. And then the third part of the song, she leaps right into a parallel universe of sheer rage, of disillusion, disappointment. The fabric of sonic space-time ripped apart, ripped in two, seared by distorted guitars, clamorous drums. I mean, we're talking epic proportions on the, but still, when she sings in the last part of the song, even as angry as she is, even as she really goes up for goes stratospheric, apocalyptic towards the end of this record, even then, she's still somewhat restrained, staying true, staying anchored to a signature style of being just kind of steady, laid back, sort of folksy, but still, she did depart from the norm a little bit on this record, and it's done very well for her. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about Billie Eilish today, and I know this is going to sound strange to you because I'm assuming that most people who are watching this video are going to be between the ages of 13 to 21. So you may not have a clue of what I'm talking about. But for me, her style of singing is actually a little bit nostalgic. It reminds me a lot of the Fleetwoods back in the late 50s and early 60s. Gary Troxell, they were based from Olympia, Washington. They had a number of hits in the late 50s and early 60s. Gary Troxell, the lead singer of the Fleetwoods, had a similar half talking, well, half singing, half whispering, just very easygoing style, still conveying the pain, the disillusion or the loneliness, the yearning, still getting it across with, of course, with the strings and with the two women singing with him. And it's just very, outside my window comes softly to me. And it's similar style. Another style that reminds me of is Stay a While by the Bells, when the woman sort of half whispers, half sings, and then a couple of years later, Sylvia doing Pillow Talk with that proto-disco beat going in the background, and she sort of half whispers and half sings. And of course, now the subject matter on those two records are a little bit different from this, but still, Billie Eilish is kind of nostalgic for me, her singing style, because you don't really hear that singing style of hers that much anymore, which is probably one of the reasons why she stands out. I believe that's all I got to say about this record. I believe I mentioned that this was by the way, in case I didn't mention it already, this was the first song. This was the first song they worked on for her second album. I mean, the deal here, she was thrown against the wall by this relationship. This was a relationship gone bad. And she tells her story in the song. And it's like enough is enough. And she's at number 16, or she was at number 16 on my fantasy playlist, February 13th, 2022.